Now we're going to talk about what are called subtractive methods of modeling. So an object can be viewed as the remainder of a solid block that has the geometry of one or more forms in a sequence removed. In the creation of real-world objects, this method is represented by machining operations such as milling or drilling, or turning on a lathe or grinding, and there's other manufacturing processes that are used. So subtractive methods. This is going to be the cube that we're going to make. And first thing we're going to do is we are going to create a rectangular solid that encloses the entire object. So your first sketch is going to be this one right here, which is 1.5 inches tall by 2.25 inches long. Let's go back to our modeling software. Oops. Okay, and then we're going to actually extrude it 1.5 inches, just so you know. We'll do that all together. All right, so I'm up here and I have my additive part on my screen. I need to get back to having the work planes, and I need to create a new part file, it's called. So down in the bottom of your screen, on the left hand side, you're going to see a little plus sign, and I'm going to click on that little plus sign. And in this plus sign, there is Create Part Studio. So I'm going to left click on that, and I'm going to create a Part Studio. Now, before we go too much further, let's do something called renaming. So I'm going to go back to my little tab at the bottom that says Part Studio 1. When I put my cursor on it, you can see it shows me the part that's in there. So I'm going to right click on that, and I'm going to select the word rename. And in here, I'm going to type SUB for subtractive. Or no, I'm sorry, that one's additive. ADD. Okay. And I'll click away from it, and you'll see the name stays. This one, Part Studio number 2, which is the one we're on right now, I'm going to right click on that one, and I'm going to rename that one, and I'm going to call this subtractive. SUB. I'm just going to call it sub. Okay. So I'm working on sub. You can see I can change the tabs if I want, but I'm working on sub right now. And then over here is what's called assembly 1. We're going to just leave that tab alone for a little while, but we're going to stay on sub. Whoops. Okay. So let's see. We're going to go and start a new sketch, and we are going to work on the front work plane. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to say View Normal To, and I'm just going to draw. I'm going to use the rectangle tool here. I rarely use the line tool. I like to use the rectangle tool, and there's a couple good reasons for that that I'll explain some point in time. So I'm going to left click on my origin. I'm going to bring my cursor out and left click, and then I'm going to, in that small box at the bottom, I didn't move my cursor anywhere because if I do, those boxes will disappear. I'm going to put in 2.25. I'm going to hit enter, and then for the height, I think it was 1.5. Yeah, it was. Okay. Now I have my rectangle there, and I'm going to close out my sketch. And just for variety here, I'm going to right click and say isometric. That's probably my favorite way of turning on isometrics. All right, next step, I'm going to turn off the front, top, and right work planes. So I just put the cursor on the word top, front, and right, and get rid of those work planes. Now I'm going to double click my mouse. Come on, here we go. All right. And then I'm going to hit extrude. And this is going to be a new extrusion. Faces and regions to extrude. I'm going to come out and put my cursor inside of the rectangle and click. Blind is good. The depth is going to be 0.75 inches. And I'm going to hit the green check mark. And then I'll green check mark. Here we go. So now our part, and I can double click here, is in the same state as this is right here on our PowerPoint. Oh, I was supposed to extrude it 1.5 inches. Wow, actually that's kind of a good thing, because I made a mistake there, right? This is supposed to extrude 1.5 inches, and I only extruded at 0.75. So you see where it says extrude 1 here in the model tree? When you make a mistake, it's very easy to fix stuff in this software. It's really pretty cool. So I'm going to just double click on the word extrude 1. And right here, that brings our dialog box back up where it says depth. I'm going to change that to 1.5 and green check mark. There we go. Now I'll go back to my PowerPoint. Okay. So what we're going to do now, we've got our rectangle here. We're actually going to remove material from the front face. Now, how you do that is you put a sketch on the front face. That's our first step. So that's going to be the shape that we want to remove. And I know this is really small, but I'll tell you right now that dimension is the same as it was on the first one. It's 0.75 inches. Both of those are 0.75 inches. And then we're going to extrude cut in 0.75 inches this exterior area. So let's go do that. I'll show you how we do that right now. All right, so sketch plane. The very first thing, it's like that piece of paper that we have on our desk. And the software is asking for the sketch plane. That's going to be this surface right here. Click. I'm going to right click and say view normal to. I'm going to start my rectangle tool. I come to the origin, and when it turns orange, I'm going to left click. I'm going to pull this rectangle up and out. You can make it look like this. You can make it look like this. Just stay inside of the box, right? And I'm going to put in 0.75 and 0.75. And then green check mark. Now, right click, isometric, extrude. Now, our choices here are new, add, and remove. We're going to actually use remove. It's going to be a blind remove. It wants to know the sketches or the faces and sketch regions to extrude. So I'll come out and I'll click on that. Oops, that was the wrong thing. Then this is a good thing. I actually want to extrude out this outer area here. I don't want to extrude away the face of this cube. So you see where it says face of sketch 2? It's very faint, but there's a little X there, and I can click on that. And now it'll ask me again for what I want to extrude, which is that outer area there. And the depth is going to be 0.75 inches. And I'm going to green check mark. Okay. So that's pretty good. Back to our PowerPoint. Now we're going to subtract away this little area in the upper right hand corner of the part. So we're going to remove the unnecessary material. So we're going to put a 2D sketch on that created face, that newly created face. And we're going to sketch what we want to remove. And then we're going to extrude cut that shape. Okay. I'm going to go back here. All right. So back on the software. Okay, here we go. All right. So I'm going to start a sketch. I'm going to put it on this front plane, front surface. I'm going to right click, view normal to. Then I'm going to use my rectangle tool. I'm going to put my cursor right on that corner up there. I'm going to pull it out and click. Now I've got my dialog boxes. Okay. And I put in 0.75 enter, and 0.75, and enter. Now I can green check mark. And whenever I do extrudes, I like to look at them isometrically because I know what's getting extruded then. So this is going to be an extrude. It's not new, it's not add, it is a remove. And what do I want to get rid of? Well, I want to get rid of this cube right here. And this is where we're going to get into a different type of blind, or, well, termination, I guess is the better word for it. So it says sketch 3, face of sketch 3, which I got. Where it says blind here, though, I'm going to click down and I'm going to say either up to next, and up to next means that it will go to the next surface. All right, so I can use up to next. All right, I can undo that for a second. All right, just so you can see that. Or I can use up to face if I want, which means that I just turn that around and now I select the face that I want it to cut to. I'll undo that so we can show you one or two more of these. Up to part's not there, up to vertex isn't there, or the word through all, which is exactly what I'm going to do in this one. I'm going to go through all. There's a couple reasons for that I really don't want to get into because it's already too long a video. So through all. So it's going through everything there. Green check mark. So that should be our part. Okay. Now, the next part of this is how we can combine objects or combine these techniques to make a model. So let's see, I gotta change our camera. There we go. So I'm going to go previous here so we can see what's going on. All right. So most objects can be modeled effectively through the combination of both the additive and subtractive methods. I use both all the time on all my my CAD models. There's no really right or wrong way to generate a solid model. However, the process that uses the least amount of steps in the shortest amount of time is the most efficient way. You're going to hear me say this a lot. I'm not lazy. I am efficient. So that's one of the things that you're going to hear all the time. So here is the third one of these parts. And this is a combination of additive and subtractive methods. This PowerPoint, by the way, is on the Google Classroom, so you'll be able to open this up and go to this slide, because what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you draw your own of this without my help, but I will be around in the classroom to help you, of course, if you get into trouble, or you can ask questions if you're working from home the next day, or email, or whatever you need to do. But we are going to do one thing. We are going to create a new part studio. And I do that, remember, by going to the little plus sign. And then I'm going to click on the word Create Part Studio. And this one, which is New Part Studio 1, right here, I'm going to right click. I'm going to say Rename. And I'm going to name this one Combo, C-O-M-B-O. And then you're going to actually draw this on these work plane, or use the first work plane you want to create that solid model. I think in the PowerPoint, I'm just looking at it, you can't see that. They use the front work plane first. So start with the front work plane and follow the little diagram that they have in the PowerPoint to create the combination of additive and subtractive modeling techniques.